barge procession echoed across the Chao Phraya River. It signifies that Thailand's grand and graceful royal barge ceremony is now unfolding. Procession. A profound wisdom forged through the synthesis of science and art, with the strength of 1,000 lives, an unwavering dedication to ensure this legacy endures alongside the rivers of Thailand for all time.
So why has the Royal Barge Procession of Thailand always been so grand? Its origins trace back to the early Ayutthaya period. The answer lies in the river itself. Being on the water allows us to truly see and understand. Because Ayutthaya was a city built on water. And geographically, we can observe that Ayutthaya was situated on an island. The waterways thus served as the primary routes for transportation and travel. Naturally, the people and citizens of Ayutthaya lived with the water, relying on boats and waterways for travel as part of their daily lives. Whenever the king traveled, a royal barge procession would accompany him through the city's canals, specifically along the Lopburi River. But in the past, the Lopburi River was larger and wider than it is today. It's just that nowadays, because the riverbanks have become shallower, the river itself has narrowed, which is why it now appears so small. Nowadays, it is simply called Klong Muang, the city canal. Behind me, this area is the site of the ancient royal palace, which includes various royal halls or pavilions. The closest one is the Surya Amaran Throne Hall, the Sanpet Prosat Throne Hall, and also the Viharn Samdet Sanctuary. This area is considered a significant spot because during royal processions by water, the monarch would embark onto the royal barge right here at this pier. This is evidenced in the royal chronicles, where it is referred to as Tha Wasukri Pier. Therefore, even during the Rat Tanakasan period, the name of the landing pier was adopted as the name of a pier in Bangkok as well. The question is, why was this connection necessary? The truth is that King Rama I, along with the intention behind restoring and establishing Bangkok, genuinely aimed to transfer the essence of Ayutthaya down to Bangkok. Therefore, everything that existed in Ayutthaya had to be recreated in Bangkok, either identically or with close resemblance.
ออกเรือพระที่นั่ง
And of course, when it comes to the Royal Barge Procession, known as the Royal Barge Procession on the river, the form used in Bangkok was inherited from the Ayutthaya period. It's just that the original documents from the Ayutthaya period have been damaged or lost. Therefore, when it came to the reign of King Rama I, His Majesty commanded the nobles, those who still remembered how the procession was organized in the Ayutthaya period, to gather and compile their knowledge, resulting in the creation of the manual known as Tamra Krabuan Praha Yuhayatra Pet Point. Mentioned earlier, when it comes to royal barges, they are beautifully adorned and used in connection with royal ceremonies. At the same time, these barges originally served as a security procession during royal journeys. Whenever the king and members of the royal family traveled to various destinations. In that era, cars were not used, so royal journeys were made by water. A formal procession had to be organized in rows, lines, and proper order. We can observe that the boats were classified into outer gate boats and inner gate boats. The boats weren't actual gates, of course, but their function as gates was to form a protective barrier, preventing anyone from breaching the formation and approaching the royal barge. That's why they are called gate boats. The question is, why does the procession need to be divided into separate sections? Because on the boats, there must be those who lead the royal procession, as well as those who follow. The leading procession serves to prevent anyone from cutting in front of the royal procession. In modern terms, it would be equivalent to having an escort vehicle, to prevent anyone from cutting into the royal motorcade and approaching the royal vehicle. At the same time, if we look at it as a wreath, the word re means a line. The royal barge line will be positioned at the center. The flanking lines, which serve as protective barriers, extend outward on both sides. Altogether, this forms 5 lines in total. These 5 lines serve to secure the procession from both riverbanks. That is why, after much arrangement and refinement, the term Prayuhayatra, Pet Phuong Royal Barge Procession of the Diamond Cluster came to be used. Because the formation is intricately arranged, resembling a cluster of diamonds and gemstones. When we observe the surrounding context of each royal barge and the arrangement of the flotilla, we will see that at the center is the deity Barge. The barge on which the king and members of the royal family reside, that symbolizes the presence of Lord Narai Vishnu and Lord Brahma. Then, surrounding it, you will see accompanying vessels composed of various types, such as, in later versions, there would be vessels named Krabi Ran Ran, Krabi Prap Muang Marn, Fa Li Rang Thavip, and Sukrip Krong Muang. The reason why there must be monkeys like Hanuman, Sukrip, and Fali is because they are the warriors of Lord Rama. Therefore, His Majesty the King is considered an incarnation of Lord Narayan, which means he is also represented as Rama. This reflects a fusion of traditional beliefs with the practical function of organizing royal processions for security purposes during the king's travels. At the same time, it is an arrangement rooted in a framework of belief. In ancient times, there were specific designations for each boat. This boat, for the Prime Minister of Civil Affairs. That one for the Prime Minister of Military Affairs. This boat belonged to the Chief Grand Minister, and that one to the Chief Military Commander. In simple terms, the ranks of officials were arranged in order from lower-ranking officials positioned further away, to high-ranking officials placed closer to the king. This was quite similar to the present day. However, in ancient times, the heads of departments or ministries involved in the royal ceremony were required to board those specific barges themselves. Mentioned, the pier was located at Thawa Sukri in front of the royal palace, beside the Grand Palace. So, where was the royal barge storage located? The barge storage was not far at all from the ancient royal palace, because evidence appears in a text known as Kanyai Fumi Satban. And there are other documents indicating that, to the south of Wat Chong Tha, there was a boathouse, which included the Royal Ceremonial Boathouse. There were also boathouses for warships, pursuit boats, and various other types. That's why the area was called Ku, by Rong literally, the boat storage moat. This area is therefore considered the site of the former royal barge storage. Nowadays, if we visit the area, we won't be able to see those specific details anymore because much of the archaeological evidence has been buried underground. According to local residents in this area, they recounted that archaeological excavations were once conducted here.
You could actually see the slope where boats were launched. The red-colored marks indicate the area underneath, which once housed the boat ramp or slipway.
Was it constructed with bricks? It corresponds with the documented evidence stating that this very location was the royal barge dockyard during the Ayutthaya period. Behind us is Wat Chai Wat Tha Naram, which was built during the reign of King Prasathong, the father of King Narai the Great. During the period when French envoys or other foreigners arrived, during the reign of King Narai, a royal barge procession was organized to receive the envoys. The village of Rua Tamban Rua, as the envoys sailed down the Chao Phraya River, passing the area where Wat Chai Wat Tha Naram is located. It would appear on Western maps, where the image of the royal barge procession can be seen, to escort the royal letter, sailing along the meandering curves of the Chao Phraya River.
Once in history, a diplomat from the land of France who traveled to Siam, and what they witnessed was the grandeur of the royal barge procession. From the carefully inscribed handwriting on the painting, it describes the royal barge used to carry the king's royal letter. It was an event in which King Narai the Great graciously ordered a fleet of royal barges to receive the royal letter from King Louis of France, to be presented at the capital of Ayutthaya. Even the lines in those drawings reflect the culture of diplomacy. When the Siamese nobles approached and greeted with a handshake in Western custom at the ambassador's riverside, residents along the Chao Phraya River, the man at the center of this scene was Kosapan, the head of the Siamese diplomatic mission, the man who opened a new era of negotiations with the Western world. If we look back at the paintings made by the French, it becomes clear that Ayutthaya was one of the most extensively depicted civilizations recorded in the pages of history. These records not only reflect the image of a majestic and elegant royal procession, but also reveal the philosophy of Eastern monarchs who positioned themselves as the center of power. They were revered, respected, and feared at the same time. Even making direct eye contact with the king might have been considered inappropriate. Yet the people still longed for the opportunity to witness His Majesty's presence up close.
And here, there's also something that could be called a historical anecdote. The story of Wat Chai Wat Tha Naram includes a stupa that is believed to date back to the reign of King Viromakad. This stupa is believed to be the burial site where the royal remains of Prince Thamma Tibet and Prince Sangwan were interred. What's fascinating is that the royal barge procession poems composed by Prince Thamma Tibet became the prototype for barge procession verses in the Ratanakosan era. For example, the famous Hakam Kapuan, Ruapang, Sadet, Prohot, Daush. Ode to the Procession, as the king travels to the celestial realm, originates from Prince Thamma Tibet, known as Prince Gung.
ปางเสด็จเรือประเวทดาวชลาลัยทรงรัตนะพิมานชัยกิ่งแก้วพรังพร้อมพวกพลกรายแหนแห่เรือกระบวนต้นแพร
We are now standing at the area known as Tambon Samphal place where the Pasak River converges with the Chao Phraya River, merging to form what is known today as the Chao Phraya River. It meets the Pasak River and becomes the Chao Phraya River, which flows down toward Bangkok and continues its course. This location is known as the Whirlpool Point, because the rivers converge here, the currents are turbulent, which caused the Chinese junk Samphal to capsize. Right behind us is an important fortress, positioned to block the river channel, specifically the Chao Phraya River, when foreign ships traveled upstream and entered the kingdom. or even the royal barges in the procession that welcomed ambassadors and carried royal letters upstream. Coming from Bangkok, during the time of De La Lober, they would have had to pass through this very point. If you go further downstream from this point, there's a place we call Tai Ku, the end of the canal. This area was the site of battles with the Burmese during the reign of King Along Pea. We were afraid that the warships or the royal barges would be destroyed. So we moved the royal barges from the boathouse near Wat Chong Tha to the Tai Ku area. After moving them to Tai Ku, the Burmese followed and ended up burning the royal barges. At that time, the royal barges from the late Ayutthaya period were consequently damaged.
Even though time may carry the past away into obscurity, but the stories of faith and culture continue to be passed down through works of art that record the way of life of people in each era, so that we may study and understand the social context of that time.
Here, we see a mural painting depicting the royal ceremony of the 12th lunar month, or Duhan Katika. This royal ritual, dating back to the Ayutthaya period, was traditionally known as Lod Chut Loi Kum, the ritual of releasing floating lanterns. This image records the royal ceremony during the reigns of King Rama IV and King Rama V. Therefore, the women depicted here represent the ladies of the inner court who resided within the royal palace. During the festival period of the 12th lunar month royal ceremony, these ladies of the inner court were given the opportunity to come out from within the grand palace. In this painting, the figurehead of the boat depicted here is that of the royal barge Ikachai, a principal royal vessel. Next is the figurehead of the Anatinakarate barge, a type of royal ceremonial barge distinguished by its multiple-headed naga design. These various images illustrate that these barges have long been recognized in Thai society, and that their legacy has continued to the present day. Now, when it came to the reign of King Rama I, because His Majesty sought to revive the essence of Ayutthaya, speaking of the first royal barge procession in the Ratanakosin era, it was actually the occasion when King Rama I returned from a military campaign in Cambodia. After His Majesty entered the capital passing through Thung, Sansab and other areas, he arrived and took residence at the pavilion in front of Wat Pho Tha Ram, now known as Wat Prache, to Pan Vimal Mungkla Ram. His Royal Highness, Prince Anorak Devish, the king's grandnephew, later became the Krompra Rajuang Boan Satanphimic, also known as the Rear Palace. He had a temporary royal pavilion constructed to welcome the king's return, and then a royal barge procession was arranged to receive King Rama I, crossing over to Thonburi, to suppress the unrest, restore order, and ultimately ascend the throne. Therefore, the royal barge procession on the Chao Phraya River is deeply intertwined with the very founding of the Ratanakosin Kingdom. In addition to that, as mentioned earlier, when King Rama I commissioned the construction of royal barges, he ensured that the fleet was complete according to the patterns described in the ancient treatise. The phrase constructing a complete fleet according to the model refers to the fact that during the Ayutthaya period, as previously mentioned, the types and classifications of royal barges had already been clearly defined and systematized. That is, the highest class of royal barges was the Rua Prathi Nung Jing Royal King's Barge, symbolized the supreme royal authority, magnificent, exquisite, and filled with profound meaning.
But why was it called Jing? Does this name derive from the structure of the barge, or does it conceal a deeper implication within the royal court? This is a thought-provoking question that invites us to consider both the physical form and the symbolic essence of these majestic vessels.
The term Rua Prathi Nang Jing refers to a royal barge used by the king during the Ayutthaya period, especially in the reign of King Somtham. The word Jing likely comes from its slender, graceful structure, reserved for the monarch, symbolizing supreme royal authority. And there was one occasion when the helmsman and some royal attendants placed flowering wreaths, known as Dak Lao King, at the stern of the royal barge. King Songtam saw this and found it beautiful. He thus commanded that a carved ornament of flowering reeds be permanently placed at the stern of the royal barge. Therefore, this became the reason why the royal barge was named Rua Prathi Nang Jing, the royal barge of the reed branch. Later on, the Rua Prathi Nang Jing was formally designated as the highest-ranking royal barge among all royal barges.
From the Ayutthaya period to the era, the monarchs in the succeeding reigns recognized the significance of this royal tradition. Therefore, royal processions by water have been continuously upheld as a royal tradition to the present day by royal initiative. Resounding cheers, the synchronized splashes of oars, and the majestic procession of exquisitely adorned barges gliding down the river, rain after rain, are a source of deep pride for the Thai people as we uphold this cherished royal tradition. In a spectacle admired by people around the world. The royal barges are not merely ceremonial vessels. They are enduring symbols of power and devotion. Their intricately carved prows are more than exquisite works of art. They reflect the deep-rooted beliefs and spiritual worldview of the Thai people. What do the Garuda and Naga figures